You just realized that you needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job posts seen on other job sites. Indeed sponsored jobs help you stand out and hire fast. With sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates so you can reach the people that you want faster. And it makes a huge difference. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Plus, with Indeed sponsored jobs, there's no monthly subscriptions, no long-term contracts, and you only pay for results. How fast is Indeed? Well, in the minute I've been talking to you, 23 hires were made on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. There's no need to wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/BWN. Just go to Indeed.com/BWN right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/BWN. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Suffering from dry, tired, irritated eyes? Don't let dry eyes win. Use Systane Pro. It hydrates, restores, and protects dry eyes for up to 12 hours. Systane Pro. Triple action dry eye relief.
The Timeline is a Blue Wire podcast. Welcome to the Timeline of Phoenix Suns podcast. My name is Mike, here with Sam. How you doing, Sam?
Mike, I'm feeling so great. I am feeling like a man who gets to root for Bol Bol on his basketball team night in and night out, and I've never said anything to the contrary. Shout out Bol Bol. That's how I'm feeling.
It really is. I mean, we got 2 good games in a row. I mean, he's just been good. Since he came back from injury, before he was injured, he's just been really good, and it's been really fun to watch, even with some of the depressing games that have occurred recently. We're lucking out, again, recording this podcast after, nothing really washes away bad vibes like beating the Lakers on national TV. So we're lucking out in that we're able to record after that. When we did record immediately after the Mavs game on our Patreon, which is, I'm not sure how many people listen to that one, but we did cover it. And then we did playback for the Houston loss as well. But we luckily get to come back after that Lakers game, where I think it's one of the better games that I've seen the Suns play without their big three, especially because the Lakers have been playing well lately. It didn't, it didn't feel like they were just beating up on a bad team. No, they were handling a good team, relatively good. I understand where they are in the standings, without letting them back into the game in the fourth quarter. And that, I think, was what we needed to see. Yeah,
at times it was still more frustratingly close than you would have wanted, of course, because the Suns opened up the first quarter so strong. But ultimately, they took care of business. And just to reiterate again, Bol Bol has been awesome. I have a feeling we're going to talk about him a bunch today, so I don't want to give anything away right off the bat. But he has been great. He has been my salvation in these games that Brad Beal has missed since returning from the All-Star break. Because remember, whatever happened to Brad Beal is making progress to return for the Mavericks game. That did not happen. Of course, he should take his time, but in the meantime, we need something else to keep the spirits high. And Bol Bol, for the last 2 games, he has been that.
He really has, and it came at the right time. Him playing well, especially just like you're talking about without Brad playing. But I think it's funny too how much a fan base needs or craves a young guy to root for, to watch them improve, to become better, because how easy it is to get used to the greatness of Kevin Durant or Devin Booker, and then everyone just focuses on Bol Bol scoring 25 points for the first time, and that alone, I think, just sort of overshadowed just how consistent and great the other guys are, just because it's someone who maybe has struggled, definitely on this team to start the season, and now he's really succeeding. A lot of people are already, I've seen on our Discord or on Twitter, a lot of people are already bummed that he's probably making too much money with his play to stay on the Suns, which I understand. I don't know that we're there yet. Maybe we are just because he's young, but it's been very fun to watch him so far.
The bottom line about that's always such a funny point of logic to me because, yeah, on the one hand, I get it. But also, if he was performing like a guy who could continue to be with the Suns on a minimum contract next year, you guys would not be excited about him. That would mean that he is not playing well. So, let him cook for as long as he possibly can. If he has to leave, we won't have his bird rights in the summer. Then so be it. I hope the man gets paid. Ultimately, I hope he can contribute to a playoff run. And even more than that, maybe a deep playoff run or a championship run. That's what we're ultimately hoping for here. We've got a lot of work to do if we want that to happen still. But yeah, he needs to play as well as possible. I don't care if he plays himself into a $10 or $15 million a year contract or whatever. Good for him if that happens. What an amazing story that would be to go from being like everyone's expectation of a victory cigar to by the end of the season, he's what Shaq always thought he would be, the counter to Wemby, the secret weapon. Good for Bol Bol, man.
Context matters, and that's why it'll be interesting to see how GMs do view him. Of course, there's still 24 games left or whatever it's going to be, plus the playoffs, to really judge what he can be. But part of the reason he's been so good lately, offensively at the very least, dude's wide open. Like every time he catches the ball, he's wide open. Mind you, smart cutter. Like he's been cutting into the lane really well lately. He's capable of hitting shots off the dribble, even through contact at times, but often is catching it with 15 feet of space, and he has a lot of room to move. So if you're say like a worse team without a bunch of stars that are able to create gravity for somebody like Bol Bol, it'll be interesting to see how GMs view it. Either way, great to see him play well. We'll talk more about him in a little bit. Sam and I both got stats together that we're going to talk about as we do every 15 or so games. We'll just trade them back and forth without telling each other what they are. Before we get to that, there was news today that the Phoenix Suns, and the Phoenix is a city, are going to be hosting the All-Star Weekend in 2027. As soon as Matt Ishbia got to Phoenix, he said that was something that he wanted to do. The Indiana All-Star Game, I think, was particularly interesting. When you even have Grayson Allen being like, I don't want to go.
Oh, come on. Don't do
it's
this.
probably not a great sign.
The Rust Belt. I don't know if Indianapolis is the Rust Belt. I think it's the Rust Belt. We will rise again. Don't crap on our cities.
Immediately after the All-Star Game, the NBA released a requirement for host cities for the All-Star Game that ruled out a lot of smaller, I don't know how many, I haven't seen the actual list of these, but ruled out a lot of the smaller markets. One of the requirements was a ton of hotels and 5-star hotels or whatever the requirement was for that, which Phoenix, without a doubt, has enough hotels for a weekend like that. I mean, they're hosting the Final Four this year in Phoenix. I don't know if you knew that, Sam. The Final Four is in Phoenix this year.
I didn't know that. I'm going to go in the other direction first. I'm going to zag, as they say. So, okay, well, let me address. Yeah,
turn the TikTok camera on.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, okay.
I'll address the Phoenix part first. So very happy for the city of Phoenix. Very excited for this. I myself am already packing my bags for 2027 to come out there. The prospect of getting to be in Phoenix.
It's a little early, Sam.
Well, I think they book flights 3 years out these days. I think I could maybe find some. But February weekend, Phoenix weather, obviously it's perfect. And I'm sure all of the journalists who were bitching about being in Indianapolis this past weekend, or not this past weekend, but a week ago or whatever, are going to love being in Phoenix, right? Weather-wise, it's great. I'm sure they have enough hotels. I don't know, though, that we should really put, like, who cares how many 5-star hotels the city of fucking...
I know what you mean.
Fucking Milwaukee has, you know?
Like, I think that...
The way I think it should be, there are if you're going to give a city an NBA team because you think that they could build a profitable enterprise, there are 30 teams.
Yeah.
And roughly every 30 years, each team should have the opportunity to host and like truly represent. And if it sucks, it sucks, and we can all point our fingers and laugh at them. But like for Phoenix, I think it's awesome that the last time they hosted, if you want to say we, then we hosted, was 2009. And 18 years later, we're gonna get another crack at it. That's great. That's better than average. But roughly speaking, every city probably should get one chance at doing it every 30 years.
Yeah, and I understand what you mean. I think the likely thing that they were trying to solve is making players want to be there. And the hotel thing was a way to eliminate cities that, like, I'm going to be honest, man, OKC. If they don't think that players want to go to OKC for an All-Star game, they're going to try to eliminate that city as a potential destination. And this list of requirements probably did that. And that just means that players are more likely to go. Now, whether or not that's a good or a bad thing can be debated, and you bring up a lot of points against it, and I agree with that. But in this case, if it's something that contributed to the Suns having it, I'm happy for now. It is kind of a thing that the NFL does as well, right? Because the NFL has different cities host the Super Bowl, but it's just here in Phoenix every 8 years, like regardless, because the weather's nice at that time of year. And I think a lot of people care about that kind of thing. They're not going to come here in the summer. You know, like it's not great when it's in the finals and it's 120 degrees outside.
Well, then they complain that's when you hear the broadcasters complain on the playoff games. Are you telling me, because you just threw a shot at Oklahoma City, and so of course I'm on TripAdvisor right now looking at the best 15 things to do in Oklahoma City. Are you telling me the players would not want to visit the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum, which is number 2? Number 2 on the list of things to do.
Grayson Allen would all of a sudden be competing in the 3-point contest.
Number 3 on the list of things to do is apparently a neighborhood called Bricktown, which I think would be a great place to send Josh Okogie for a weekend.
I was going to make a Lou Dort joke, so that's probably better.
There you go. It appears to be a canal with I don't know, canal things like the thing they do in San Antonio. I don't know. You guys don't have water in Phoenix, but you know every city that's built on a canal kind of works the same way. They've got restaurants, they've got boats,
shops.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm looking forward to it. Should we apply for credentials to that? It's gonna be hard to get tickets. This might be the only time we actually do that.
I feel like this is a job interview. I don't know. I never think more than like 3 months at a time.
I think we should.
Do you think of where this podcast will be in 2027? Have you had that thought?
Do you know how many seasons that? Maybe you've already done the math on this. That would be our 9th season. Isn't that weird to think about? Mm-hmm. I think at that point we probably, unless we've done something that makes Matt Ishbia just absolutely hate us by then, I think we could probably write some questions down to ask Mikal Bridges about returning to Phoenix.
Well, okay, I actually
in that season.
So I don't know about the whole media credential thing. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But I actually do think this poses an interesting question about what the state of the Suns will be in 2027. Now, in the ideal,
I know what it'll be: Devin Booker, Mikal Bridges,
okay,
Bradley Beal in a wheelchair.
Well, I figured 40-year-old Kevin Durant about to win his 4th championship. But no, I mean, how motivated? I guess what I mean is, let's say we go into 2026 and whether there's been success or not for the past couple years. Like, let's say Kevin Durant is on his way out. Bradley Beal is, I don't know. I don't even want to speculate. Let's say Devin Booker is still there, though.
That's the last year of Bradley Beal's contract, I believe.
Okay. Well, Devin Booker,
right.
Devin Booker, I think, is the piece that is youngest and fans feel best about, and I think the organization is always going to want to commit to for as long as they possibly can. Will having the All-Star break in Phoenix push Matt Ishbia to make even crazier moves to try and like continue to leap above the competition? Or is that just how he was going to be anyway, right? Because, there's no way he's going to go into 2027 fielding a team that's like an embarrassment, right? Like, he's not going to allow them to be a Washington Wizards product if they're hosting the All-Star break. But how...
Didn't Charlotte host it a few years ago? Isn't that something that happened there?
They did, yes. How far in the other direction is he going to go is what I wonder.
They have to go big. I mean, especially for that year, it just would be an embarrassment if the Suns were awful. Devin Booker hosting an All-Star game in his what year would that be? His 13th year in Phoenix?
No,
something like that.
Like 11 or 12? 11 or 12?
That would be pretty cool.
What's he in right now? 8 or 9?
9, I think.
Damn.
Yeah, so yeah. Very cool for the city. Very cool for Matt Ishbia. And I want to add just to my expectations of him trying to have as good a team as possible for that year. I also think for those who are going to a lot of games, I could see some arena improvements by then too, just because this guy wants to make a good impression with every single thing he does. and he's willing to spend the money to do it. So I'm going to keep an eye on that and see if anything happens. Anything else on that before I move on?
No, I don't think so. Should be exciting.
One quick question for you before we get to tossing around some stats here. The Suns lost 2 in a row coming out of the All-Star break. First of all, I don't want to leave them like off the hook for that. The Dallas game was what it was. The Houston game, I think, was personally, in my opinion, worse for how they lost. Dallas, for whatever reason, if they just make 5 threes in a row to start a quarter, it's like the Suns get buried every time. Why do you think, or do you think, do you think that fans, the vibes are especially weird after losses this season compared to previous season? And maybe the answer to that question is it's just a function of the expectations that have been placed on this team. But 2 losses in a row, fans will immediately say the season's over. And mind you, they did go down to 8th in the standings. Now they're back at 5th in the standings.
Exactly.
After a single win.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just what it's going to be for the rest of the season. If they lose 2 in a row, everyone wants to jump off a bridge. And if they beat the Lakers, everyone's back in. But why do you think it's so crazy like that?
So I think to get the answer you're looking for, because I know what answer you're looking for, you need to ask a more rational person than me. Because I'm right there. I am between the two of us. I'm right there with them a lot of the time, and I think to kind of give a voice to those people, it's because yes, it's a function of expectations, obviously, but with the way we played, not even with the way we played necessarily, like we all know what this team is capable of at full strength. But with Bradley Beal already having missed so many games, and the fact that we didn't get to see that continuity in the first half of the season that we were hoping for. We now feel like we have our backs against the wall. And also, particularly, it really does matter the opponent, too. Because fans would have 2 losses in a row, we would have let them off the hook if that second game was against Denver. But that second game was against Houston. And with the teams that are left on the schedule for us now, there aren't many games like Houston left. We've got 2 more games against Houston coming up this weekend.
Except for the ones against Houston, right?
Catch us on playback. But there are a handful of games left against teams under 500, and otherwise it's playoff opponent after playoff opponent. You need to be playing your best basketball, and at a certain point, yes, even without Bradley Beal, you need to play your best basketball, and you need to demonstrate leadership, and you need to give us 5, 6, 7 guys who you can trust in critical moments to not fumble leads and not give up 15-1 runs to the other team coming out of a half. And, it's just like I understand where the frustration is coming from. I think we captured some of the good vibes back with that win against the Lakers. But personally, just when they lose, I haven't felt like the vibes are... I haven't felt like people are reacting more irrationally than they have in previous seasons. I think we've always been more or less equally crazed.
Yeah, insane?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't fault anyone for it. We're fans. We're allowed to be a little insane. I rest my case.
It's the safest way to be an irrational person. Sports, I think, as long as you're not doing it in a way that hurts anyone else. Nothing like a win against the Lakers to, like I said, to start the segment, to wash away all those bad vibes. So shout out to them for doing that for us. And then, 2 more games against Houston, Thursday and Saturday. Hopefully they wash away those losses, or that loss as well, with 2 wins there.
You just realized that you needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job posts seen on other job sites. Indeed sponsored jobs help you stand out and hire fast. With sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates so you can reach the people that you want faster. And it makes a huge difference. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Plus, with Indeed sponsored jobs, there's no monthly subscriptions, no long-term contracts, and you only pay for results. How fast is Indeed? Well, in the minute I've been talking to you, 23 hires were made on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. There's no need to wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/BWN. Just go to Indeed.com/BWN right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/BWN. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
On Fox One, you can stream your favorite news, sports, and entertainment live all in one app.
It's raw
and unfiltered.
This is the best thing ever.
Watch breaking news as it breaks.
Breaking tonight, we're following two major stories.
And catch history in the making. Debates, drama,
Touchdown!
it's all here, baby. Fox One, we live for live. Streaming now.
Let's talk about stats. We got stats, both of us. 5 each, or at least. We're going to trade them back and forth. We haven't talked to each other about what they are, so there's a chance that we will overlap a little bit. Do you want me to go first, or would you like to go first?
Feel free to go first.
Oh, then I got to go with Bol Bol.
Okay. Yeah.
This is a defense stat, though, so if you have anything related to offense, you can still use yours. Bol Bol missed some games with an ankle injury. Since he's come back, he has played in 8 games in that time, including missing a few games within that for another injury. In the 8 games since Bol Bol came back from injury, the Suns have a 100.4 defensive rating with him on the floor, which is just absurdly good, like insanely good defensive rating. The offensive rating, I'll be honest, on the other side of that is not as good as it can be. Like when Nurkic is on the floor, it's like 123 or something. For Bol Bol, it's 109.9, but that still leaves them at a plus 9.5 net rating. But an 8-game sample size where he's playing 15 to 20 to 30 minutes in those games, depending on the game, of 100.4 defensive rating with him on the floor, it's just insane. It's just insane, and you can see the vision why they brought him in the first place as a power forward, really, and how well it's working right now has really stood out to me.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you started with defense. Obviously, that's the natural place to talk about. It's nice to see Bol get some confidence in his offense, make some standstill catch and shoot threes, shoot off the dribble, and just have like a 25-point game in general. That's great. But defense is what's keeping him on the floor. Defense is the reason he's actually an impactful player for the Suns night in and night out right now, really in a way that we didn't expect him to be. And I'll go even further. I'm stealing this stat. This is not my Bol Bol stat. I have a bunch, but I'm stealing this stat from a really good piece from our friend Stephen Pridgeon with Bright Side of the Sun yesterday. He put out a piece about Bol Bol, and he said, with Kevin Durant, the two of them have played 48 minutes together this season. Some of that is in like multi-big lineups where KD is even the 3 and Bol is the 4, and they play.
I would say most of it.
And they play with the center. In theory, as we project forward, I think you could see more of that, though, hypothetically, with Bol at the 4 and Durant at the 5. We haven't seen a ton of that yet, but you definitely could in the future. Those two together in 48 minutes, team has a defensive rating of 98.
It's absurd.
Just really freaking good stuff. And to give Steven even more credit, he has media credentials at All-Star Weekend, and he asked Chris Finch, who was coaching the Western Conference, a more generic question about defenses these days in the NBA and how as a coach you can hope to catch up to the skill that offensive players are displaying, how you build your scheme, and like how you even hope to keep up with the ridiculous offensive ratings. And Chris Finch gave him an answer, basically either that you need elite point of attack defenders or you need to make up for it with length. What we're seeing with the Suns right now is that we've known kind of all along we don't have elite point of attack defenders. We wanted Josh Okogie to maybe be that guy. Some nights he brings it. A lot of nights, frustratingly, he doesn't. I don't even think it's his fault. I think the effort is always there. I just think some of the talent to be a 90th percentile point of attack defender, whatever, who can lock down, like maybe that player doesn't even exist, but if it does exist, Josh Okogie is not that player. You bring in Royce O'Neal. Royce O'Neal has a lot of strengths. We're going to talk about Royce O'Neal in this podcast, but he is not that point of attack defender exactly either.
Yeah.
So let's just put a lot of length on the floor and start fucking their shit up, right? And that's, that's kind of what we're seeing with Bol now, is that previously I don't think there was necessarily that trust to have Bol buy in to a scheme defensively, to have him make the right rotations, to have him be in the right places. He is proving very clearly now that he's capable of doing all of that. And when he's the help side defender, or if he's even helping from one side and KD's helping from the other side, and you have a big like protecting the rim, like whether it's a Eubanks or Nurkic or Thaddeus Young or whoever, like the amount of length that the Suns can now stack on the floor with Bol Bol is absurd, and it is legitimately slowing teams down.
You saw moments in the Houston game. As much as there was negatives in there, obviously the big positive was Bol Bol, but there was moments where Thad Young and Bol Bol were in where they rebounded everything. Like every shot that went up, they were getting on the boards too, and that made a big difference. I think for the Suns in particular, they start so small. Their starters are so small in that they play 3 guards in the starting lineup. Back to the old Hydra days of the Suns, but they're starting 3 guards in the starting lineup when they're healthy, or even at times when they're not fully healthy, they're still starting Eric Gordon if Eric Gordon's healthy. And then those guys come off the floor. You're trying to mix the minutes up, try and figure out the best ways to manage the minutes when all 3 stars aren't on the floor. And I think one of the keys to that might just be getting bigger and playing bigger and being more willing to put size on the floor. There are teams that are doing it with the starting lineup. Minnesota Timberwolves, I think, are the best example of this happening right now. But I think, in some cases, like last year, the Boston Celtics were a team that was doing it with 2 bigs that were just skilled bigs that are capable of doing different things on the floor. And the Suns need to do something like that, I think, with the bench, because it's one thing to take the size out because the offense is just absolutely killer when you're starting. It's another thing when you don't have all those offensive pieces either aren't on the floor or they haven't really figured out the best like mixture of those guys to keep the offense flowing, especially without Nurkic on the floor. We know the difference he makes. Get bigger, play bigger.
Yep.
Just trust these guys to do different things when Bol Bol's out there. And look, if his offense keeps growing, if it keeps getting better and better and better, it really adds an interesting ceiling to this team in the regular season. I think I don't know how much of this is translatable to the playoffs. Like,
don't say that.
Are there going to be times where they target Bol Bol 10 times in a row and all of a sudden you can't find ways to help? I don't know. Like, I really don't know. We haven't seen enough of it against enough types of teams to really understand just how versatile it can be.
But this is why, let's be clear right now, was it the Dallas game or the Houston? No, it was the Dallas game where he didn't play at all, correct?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
We now know that if, like, how many games are left? 25?
24, I think.
Bol Bol, if he is healthy, better be a staple of the rotation going forward. He better play.
No, you don't have enough time. Yeah.
He better play the next 24 games. He is that good. He has been that good consistently. There have been a couple of examples like over the past couple months where maybe he checks into a game either, of course, for garbage time, or he checks in for like 3 or 4 minutes, doesn't do anything, has to come back off the floor. I don't count those as real appearances. Every time that Bol Bol has played at least 10 minutes for the Suns over like the past 2 months, he's looked good.
Yeah.
He's looked at least passable. And
that's why
more
I
often
think
than
it's
not good.
That's why it's so context dependent. You have to find times with him playing with a star on the floor.
Yeah.
Because he helps in that case.
Yeah.
You put him out there with a bunch of other scrubs, for example, I think you're not going to maximize him. He still might be the best offensive player in some of those lineups, which is a little scary. It was a lot different when the Suns didn't have playable bench players. Now they have a few that make it more valuable. But all right. We spent a long time on Bol Bol.
Well, I got more Bol Bol stats. We're not done. We're not done. Okay. No, I wanted to say, like, you say you don't know how this holds up to the playoffs. Well, we get into the playoffs. There's so much hand-wringing we're doing about, Drew Eubanks sucks. Oh, Thad Young, he's played 1 game. He sucked in that 1 game. I don't blame him for that, by the way. I think Thad Young will look better. But it's like, maybe we get into the playoffs, and we don't
honestly, I blame everyone else for that Thad Young performance. They were trying to force him the ball over and over and over in an absurd way.
That's true. But maybe we get into the playoffs and we don't need either of them. Maybe we get into the playoffs if everyone who's supposed to be healthy is healthy and the 8-man rotation is the starting 5 that we want, plus Eric Gordon, Royce O'Neal, and Bol Bol. And you play however many minutes you can of Yusuf Nurkic at center. The backup center is Kevin Durant with Bol Bol at the 4. More than enough length there defensively.
Can I read you the 5 players he's guarded the most time this season based on matchup stats?
Bol or KD?
Bol Bol.
Yeah,
it's just an example. And I want to use this to make a point, though, so I'm not going to use this as a way to insult him or anything. Torian Prince, number 1. Amen Thompson, number 2. Jabari Walker, number 3. Jabari Smith Jr., number 4. And number 5, Jared Vanderbilt. Now, obviously no stars there. In fact, you could go down the list. You got to get pretty low on the list before you get to a minute played against Kawhi Leonard. But there is something to say that you kind of have to hide him on defense, but it's not hiding him in per se. You're putting him on the worst shooter on the floor so that he can roam the paint,
yes,
so that he could be the help defender. Mm-hmm. He's just not there necessarily to be the point of attack defender against good star players. He's there to be a help defender, which is why I wonder how much is translatable to the NBA playoffs, because if you have to play against a team that you switch a lot on, for example, the Los Angeles Clippers, can he hold up? Can they bring a double fast enough?
Yeah.
Can they rotate fast enough when Bol Bol's on the floor? Those are the questions and the reasons he needs to play every one of the games that are left in the season so that we know how sustainable it is.
No, that's totally fair. And if he plays the Clippers or if he plays the Nuggets are another example, it's going to be tough, but there could be examples where he could potentially hold up as well. I think maybe if you played the Timberwolves, it wouldn't be such a big issue. If you played, and these teams are further down in the standings, the Pelicans or someone like that, then obviously It's not as big of an issue. The Mavs, then it's not as big of an issue. So yeah, it's going to be context dependent. But I just wanted to throw it out there because I know a lot of people are talking about it. They're like, why can't Bol just play the 5? First of all, maybe we should throw him a few minutes at the 5. I think it takes away
KD out there particularly.
I think it takes away, where they have the most confidence in his defense, which is as a team defender and not as really the primary rim protector. But on that note, okay, my last stat on Bol Bol, and then I promise we will move on. Do you want to know what opponents are shooting on less than 6 feet? Less than 6 feet from the basket with Bol as the primary defender. What are opponents shooting this season?
So like a good stat for those who want to know is like 50-something%.
Yeah,
like
league average is 60%. The top tier high volume rim protectors, like the Goberts of the world, the Wembys, whatever, are routinely in like the low 50s.
Is this as a primary defender?
This is as a primary defender. It's also not the biggest. It's not the biggest sample size in the world. So
50%.
It's 40%. It's on a sample size of like 50 shots. So it's not.
That's still pretty good.
It's really good for a small sample size.
It also doesn't count his help defense, because that's just when he's the primary defender.
He's awesome.
Those stats are all a little bit weird, but man, that is insanely impressive. That's just really good. I mean, that's got to be the best on the Suns in, I don't even want to guess how long since they've had a defender capable of making that big of a difference at the rim. It's just about how he moves his feet and how the Suns can do it. The thing is he's this really, I know this is all Bol Bol talk. We could have probably done a whole Bol Bol podcast at this point. But
have we mentioned like the name Devin Booker or Kevin Durant once?
We're
30 minutes into a Suns podcast.
We started talking about 30-year-old Devin Booker hosting the All-Star game.
Yeah, it's true.
He's just such an it's a toolbox. The players are just this toolbox for the coaches to use, and he's the most interesting one besides the obvious superstars that are on this team. He's just one of the most interesting ones because of what he's capable of doing. All right, let's move on.
All right, I promise.
Okay,
it's my turn.
Okay,
or is it your turn again? I gave my Bol Bol stats.
Well, you did the Bol Bol one. Yeah. So, yeah. I'll go again.
All right, you go back.
Last 10 games with Josh Okogie on the floor.
Oh, no. Don't do it to my man.
The Suns have a defensive rating of 118.9, which is just
biased.
So bad. Not to mention, by the way, the offensive rating. The offensive rating does sink to 112.2, which, by the way, better than I thought it would be. But a minus 6.6 net rating, he is basically, in that sample size, that time, since the Suns have made the trade, you take out all the players that were gone in the trade, he's basically, in that span, the worst in net rating on the team. And, it's getting really bad. We could talk about other guys later as far as what you can do to maybe mitigate some of the things that he's doing, maybe playing different guys. But the extent to which, if you don't notice that he checks in, you notice on the first offensive play, I think is that it's worse than it's ever been. Teams are so prepared to leave him completely wide open and just send two guys at whoever has the ball that it's just so apparent every time he's on the floor. It's sad. I like Josh Okogie, and he's had some really big moments for this team this year. I'm not sure he should play anymore.
It hurts to see you
just
rooting,
because I don't think he could play in the playoffs.
It hurts to see you preying on my man's downfall, but I begrudgingly agree that he has been very bad as of late, and it is a real phenomenon that there is such a thing as being so bad on offense that you're bad on defense. That obviously when you turn the ball over, that's the easiest way. But if you are so catastrophically bad on offense that you're just bricking shots off, like either you directly or someone else is bricking shots that lead to long rebounds that lead to transition points on the other end, then of course, no amount of hustle that you give or grit or whatever is going to make up the difference. And yeah, it hurts with Josh. Obviously, he can't make the three, but you hope that like when he's at his best, he can still make up for it somehow with the offensive rebounding or
defense,
just the effort plays.
Yeah,
and past couple weeks it hasn't been there.
In the past, he has had a big impact on the defensive rating for the Suns, and it's just not translating right now. And that could just be a stretch where it's not translating. I'm not saying this is something that can't change, but I watch him play, and I have these, red hot flashbacks to the playoffs last year of how unplayable he became as the season progressed, not just because of his offense, but also because his defense was not impacting players like Jamal Murray, and they had to bench him later in that series. And I'm just wondering how much time are we going to spend in this experiment if it's currently not working against teams like Houston?
It's just hard right now too, though, because especially Damian Lee hasn't come back yet, and I know we thought that all of our wings that we traded for Royce O'Neal sucked, and that's true. But it would be nice to have one other wing off the bench who we could go to who's not Nazir Little or David Roddy. It doesn't feel like there's necessary when Beal is injured, that is. Because if Beal's playing, I don't think this is a problem. I don't think there's any room for Josh in the rotation anyway.
I got one stat that I'll talk about with that.
But in a game where Beal is out and you're just looking for other guys to fill in the rest of the minutes of the rotation, it's like, do you trust Nazir Little instead to go out there for 10 or 15 minutes? I'm not sure you necessarily do. Again, it would be really nice to have Damian Lee back, because I think I would trust Damian Lee, even though I know he's a turnstile on 100%. Defense, to just go out there and give you some spacing. Last thing on Josh Okogie.
And also make smart plays. Like Josh Okogie with the ball in transition, it's a turnover 70% of the time, it feels like. And that's not something that Damian Lee does.
Josh Okogie in 4 games against the Golden State Warriors this year is averaging 12 points on 96% true shooting.
Against that team, he makes every three.
So let me just say,
if we play them in the playoffs, if Josh Okogie's starting.
If we meet Golden State in the play-in, Josh Okogie is playing 48 minutes. God damn it.
On Fox 1, you can stream your favorite news, sports, and entertainment live all in one app.
It's raw
and unfiltered.
This is the best thing ever.
Watch breaking news as it breaks.
Breaking tonight, we're following 2 major stories.
And catch history in the making. Debates, drama,
Touchdown!
it's all here, baby. Fox 1, we live for live. Streaming now.
If you're a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility and your machinery isn't working right, Grainger knows you need to understand what's wrong as soon as possible. So when a conveyor motor falters, Grainger offers diagnostic tools like calibration kits and multimeters to help you identify and fix the problem. With Grainger, you can be confident you have everything you need to keep your facility running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
All right, what do you got?
Let's talk about where do I want to go? Let's talk about Yusuf Nurkic. So Devin Booker said something interesting the other day. By the other day, I think I mean yesterday, after Nurk came back and had a huge game against the Los Angeles Lakers with, correct me if I'm wrong, 22 rebounds and 7 assists. But Book, referring to the fact that Nurk could not play in the Houston game, and he said, we have not won a game without him yet this year. Which is true. It's easy to forget, but Nurk has missed.
He said, get Eubanks off my team.
That's not what he said directly. It's not what he said directly. Nurkic,
subtext.
Nurkic has only missed 4 games for the Suns this year, But the Suns are 0-4 in those games.
Yeah.
He is the third most important player on the team as it is currently constructed. I don't think there are any ifs, ands, or buts about it. We can win a game if Bradley Beal doesn't play. We're not as good as we should be because we still have two superstars. We're not as good as we should be, but we can scrap our way to victory without Bradley Beal. We have not found a way to beat even a team like the Houston Rockets without Jusuf Nurkic, just demonstrating once again his huge impact, which I don't think many people are questioning at this point, but there are still a few stragglers. What say you?
He's just, let me tell you right now, I just looked it up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In the entire NBA of players that play 20 minutes or more, he's 8th in offensive rating. When he's on the floor, he has that big of an impact on what the Suns are doing offensively. The guys above him, I'm just reading them out, multiple Denver Nuggets guys, which it'll make sense to you in a second, but Tyrese Halliburton, number 1. Contavious Caldwell-Pope, Denver. Number 2, Miles Turner, right? That's the Tyrese Halliburton bump right there. SGA, Jokic, and then you have guys that are tied.
Fake.
James Harden, DeAnthony Melton, Jusuf Nurkic, they're all tied. So, essentially, Jusuf Nurkic is 7th or 6th in that stat. In the entire NBA, he just makes such a massive difference to what this team is capable of doing on the floor offensively, and the extent to which the true shooting percentage of every player goes up when he's on the floor is evident. And what's weird about it and kind of crazy about it is how much he impacts their ability to get shots at the rim. You would think it would be Eubanks that has a bigger impact on that because he's rolling, they're passing it to him on the roll, he's getting shots at the rim. No, it's Nurkic out on the perimeter, dishing to cutters and getting them shots at the rim. He just makes such a huge difference for the team, and it's insane.
It's the same counterintuitive logic, I think, and I'm not saying that Jusuf Nurkic is Nikola Jokic. He's not, but it's the same counterintuitive logic that applies with the Denver Nuggets and with a team like the Sacramento Kings with Sabonis. It's having that tall playmaker who can just send in an entry pass over the top of anybody. It would be so nice, because we don't really have this. It would be so nice if we just had, more of an athletic wing lob catcher to pair with Nurkic and just have him send passes.
Eric Gordon.
Send passes over the top. He got one to Eric Gordon, which was awesome. Was that even him who made that pass, or was it someone else?
I think it was Royce O'Neal.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it was like, this guy doesn't know Eric Gordon very well, apparently.
Yeah, that's great that Eric Gordon did that once. But, obviously I'm talking about a Bruce Brown or, I don't know, some hyper athletic wing who can leap.
Yeah.
Would be nice. It is what it is. But Nurk has just been so tremendous with his impact with this team. I even went back several years with this stat too, to when he was with Portland, just because I wanted to see how did the Blazers play when Nurk started, and how did they play when he was injured. And there are seasons, like a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, the Blazers went 25-31. They were a bad team this year, right? This is also the year that Dame got injured. But they were 25-31 when Nurk played. They were 2-24 in the games that he didn't. That was the year they shut him down completely. If you just look at the past 5 years in general and put together all of the records, assemble them, when Nurkic plays, his team, either the Suns or Blazers combined, play at a 44-win pace. When he does not play in the past 5 years, his teams have played at a 30-win pace. And one player making that impact, a 14-win difference over the course of a full season by himself, is more or less superstar impact, I would say. I mean, it's not like Jokic-level impact, but that a 14-win difference is star impact. That's like what you would kind of expect if Bradley Beal missed the entire season or Devin Booker missed, the vast majority of the season, in my opinion.
It really is insane, and I think underappreciated in some ways. Are there matchups where Jusuf Nurkic is going to struggle? Yes, that's bad for the team as a whole. That's not just this is not an unplayable player in the playoffs because of the difference he makes to the team offensively. He also has a 9.6 net rating on the season when he's on the floor with the Suns. They have a 9.6 net rating, which is just absurd. But actually, this leads into my next stat. It's not the best on the Suns this season, the net rating stat, because we have a new net rating king on the Phoenix Suns this year. Did you know about this, Sam? Do you know who I'm about to say?
I have. It's one of two guys. I have two guys in mind, and I'm not sure which one to say.
Say them. I'll tell you.
It's either Royce O'Neal or Saban Lee.
It's Saban Lee.
Okay, let's go.
Plus 12.5 net rating. Obviously, a very small sample size of just 15 games played and just 7.7 minutes in those 15 games. When he's on the floor, the Suns have had a defensive rating of 98. Obviously, he's only played in circumstances that greatly benefit his skill set, so that does make a difference. But should Saban Lee be getting Josh Okogie's minutes for the rest of the season?
Should Saban Lee be getting Josh Okogie's minutes? Well, so let's...
And I know this goes against the idea of playing bigger when the bench is on the floor.
No, yeah, you're right. But not necessarily, because there are two... A point that I wanted to make earlier when we were actually talking about the concept of being bigger is that something that's so frustrating, I called this out during the Houston game with the Suns, is their inability to pick a lane. When teams get bigger, they tend to get slower, which is okay, because you make up for it by playing bigger. Conversely, when teams are smaller, it's so that they can play faster and play lumbering bigs on the other team off the floor. What's been frustrating to watch with the Suns is these games, like that Houston game, where they are both small and slow, which is the worst of both worlds, and they refuse to choose a lane. So I think either you go super big with Bol Bol and KD and Eubanks or whoever you want at the like, you can just have those big lineups, or you can also inject more energy and speed into the rotation with as many Saban Lee minutes as possible. And I think that is an okay, a logical route to take as well. But you need to commit to it. And I don't know what the pace is with Saban Lee on the floor this season. That's not a particular stat I looked up. I imagine
it's a 102, between 102 and 103.
I imagine it continues to be very high. Yeah, 102, 103 is definitely a lot faster than, I think it's around 100 with Book on the floor, maybe like 100.5 with KD. So 102, 103 is already a step up. The guy we're going to talk about next, based on my next stat, is even faster than that. But to return to your question of should he take Josh Okogie's minutes, I guess if we've got a healthy Brad Beal and we've got a healthy Eric Gordon, how many guys is that? Starting five,
yeah, plus
EG, plus Royce, plus Bol, plus insert either Eubanks or Thad. That we're talking regular season here, not the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
So I think you've got a 9-man rotation right there of either Eubanks or Thad takes the 9th spot. And then, yeah, I mean, if you want to have a 10-man rotation, there's a few minutes in there for Saban Lee. But I think
the reason you play Saban, because you're not playing Josh, right? And Josh is currently playing. And yes, it's not a lot of minutes, but now if you play Saban Lee in those minutes, what I guess we've gotten to the point in watching Saban Lee, and that net rating stat is don't get me wrong, it's fake, right? It's not real. It's not like he's going to have this impact no matter what lineup he plays in. It's just not real. But it does say something in that Frank Vogel is finding the right times to play Saban Lee to make the team successful. The question is, the Suns have a roster spot open still. And I think I've gotten to the point with Saban Lee where I'm okay with the Suns leaving that spot open and playing Saban Lee, the games that he's allowed to play on his 2-way contract. And if it goes well enough, just converting him into a player that can be available for the playoffs. Does he need to play playoff minutes? No. But is there a scenario where it makes sense to play him? Possibly. And that's why it's worth giving him minutes to find out. Now, is he a lot better than Josh Okogie offensively? No, actually. Do you know what Saban Lee is shooting from 3 this year so far, Sam?
I was just looking at his page, so I know it's 10%.
It's 10%.
Yeah.
He's shooting really badly from 3. Has he shot a lot? Well, enough to... I mean, he shot 10. He's made 1 of 10.
The same defensive strategy that you were just talking about, that teams can just double KD whenever he has the ball if Josh Okogie's on the floor, the same thing is true for Saban Lee. You're not fixing that by playing Saban Lee.
Yes, off the ball. The difference is he has offensive skills when he catches it, in that he can get into the paint and he can make passes out to shooters, or he can get fouled at the rim, or he can finish. He's pretty good at finishing at the rim. The other thing he can do, Teams are pressuring Devin Booker. Teams are pressuring Kevin Durant. Now all of a sudden you give the ball to Saben Lee. He gets the ball from out of bounds to across half court in like 3 seconds. Now the Suns are starting their offense with a set initiated by Saben Lee with 20 seconds left on the shot clock. That's a lot better of a situation than if Josh Okogie just runs to the corner and stands there. Conversely, he can also screen. In the half court, they've been using him to screen. Has that gone really well so far? Not really. But they've barely done it. It's just not a lot of experimentation with him so far.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll work. I don't know if he'll be good. I do know that I'm pretty sure that the Josh Okogie experiment has not gone as well as we've hoped so far this season. And I'm curious what would happen if we gave Saben Lee a try.
The more important question than what we think of it is, do you think the Josh Okogie experiment has gone to Frank's expectations? Because he's the one who's going to be making the decision. And the other thing I'll say is Saben, for this, he does have some skills that you're talking about, and I am a fan of his. He is listed at 183 pounds. Josh Okogie is listed at 213.
Yeah, that can't guard the same guys.
That is quite a difference when you're talking about implementing a switch everything scheme. So I think that is something that Frank looks at and probably weighs on him quite a bit when he's deciding who to play between the two of them.
+2. These are the last 4 games he's played in. +2 against Chicago in 5 minutes. He played in the Utah game. Really didn't matter. +3 in 23 minutes against Detroit, which obviously that's good. But it's super impressive considering the Suns just absolutely murdered them in that game. And then in Dallas, he was +10 in 6 minutes and then didn't play much the rest of the game, which I don't know if that's real or not. But I think it did lead to him getting minutes against the Lakers where he was +8 in the time that he played and made a 3, which was the first 3 he made all season, which I didn't realize until just now when looking up his stats. But it's just a thing with him that I'm monitoring. And I'd like to see him get more minutes. The other thing is the Suns don't have a backup point guard right now, really. You can say it's Eric Gordon. Doesn't feel like it.
Shouldn't
do
be.
Things with the ball,
Shouldn't
but
be.
it shouldn't. Yeah, so if there is a scenario, Devin Booker's out, Bradley Beal's out, for example, that you need a little bit more dribbling at least to initiate the offense, get it into Kevin Durant's hands quickly, Saben Lee's the guy. He's the only other guy left that can do that. All right. You got another one?
I got plenty more. I got 3. How many more do you have?
I have 3 as well.
Okay, let's go. Let's make quick work of these.
All right.
We need to talk about 3-point shooting. As always, I am a fan of when the Suns take a lot of threes. And there are so many clips this year of Frank Vogel saying that, or other players who are asked about it, saying that Frank was preaching threes pregame or postgame or in practice or shoot around or whatever. He's telling them to take threes, supposedly. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. But I'll tell you,
it's clear that he is doing it, yeah.
I believe that he's doing it. It's more about what does it really take for that advice to click. Because I can tell you what happens when they actually take that advice to heart. They win games. The Suns are 5-1. Here's a stat. The Suns are 5-1 when they take at least 43s. One of those games was this Sunday against Los Angeles.
Yep.
Here's another stat. In their 11 highest volume shooting games, 3-point shooting games this season, the 11 games where they took the most threes out of all their games stacked top to bottom, they are 9-2 in those games. When the Suns shoot a lot of threes, by their standards at least, they win games. Here's what else is interesting about this. It doesn't even necessarily have to be awesome, like mind-blowing, sharp shooting percentages in those games. The more important thing, arguably, is just that they're taking them. And this is not to say, if you take 40 or 45 or 53s and you have a Houston Rockets conference finals disastrous, 10% shooting performance, you're going to lose that game unless you change up your strategy. I'm not here to debate that. That's obviously always going to be the case. There are going to be those high variance swings when you make more 3-point shooting embedded into your game plan. But games like this Sunday against the Lakers, Suns took 43s. They shot 36%. That's average. It's even like maybe slightly under their average. It's okay. But the more important thing was that the threat of it was constantly there. The last couple of times that they took 43s in a game, you have to go back to January. It was in a pair of wins against New Orleans and Miami. Good wins against two solid teams. Both of those games.
Dominant wins. I remember both.
Yeah, I think they were by like maybe 15 points or something.
The Suns led like the whole game for both of those games.
They shot 35% from deep as a team.
Yeah.
not one of those games where you shoot 50% and just blitz them the entire time. The more important thing was just that they were getting them up. And this continues to be an issue with so many guys top to bottom in this roster. Grayson Allen, I don't know how many times I have to say it. You have the green light. You have the green light from anywhere on the floor. I do not care if he's in transition, pulling up from 28, 30 feet out. Mike, Grayson Allen is shooting 54% on pull-up threes this season.
That's
and we are 2/3 of the way through the year. Why is he not taking that shot 5 times a game?
Yeah, I mean, he picks the good ones to take. That's part of why he's shooting so well. But even if the percentage went down 20%, it's still good.
Exactly. Yeah. If that percentage went down to 40% and he doubled his volume, that is awesome offense. Why is he not taking it? Royce O'Neal helps with this. Obviously, I think what we're seeing with Royce O'Neal, since he's been injected, not with pull-up threes, I'm just talking about like getting them up in general. I think what we're seeing with Royce O'Neal since he's come to the Suns is he's a Jay Crowder-esque type offensive player where some games he's going to frustrate fans because he's going to not be able to hit the ocean from a boat, and other games he's going to shoot like 6 from 8 or 6 for 9 or whatever, and he's going to be awesome. Mm-hmm. And that's just the type of player he's going to be. It's going to average out to around 40%, and that'll be good enough for me. But the most important thing is always try and have at least 4 guys on the floor who can get them up. 5 guys sometimes if you can. Honestly, I still don't mind even when Nurkic takes them. I know he stopped doing that for like the past 20 or 30 games. I didn't mind it when he was trying it. I just want them to get shots up. And
I'm pretty over that personally, but
I know a lot of people are too. I think that one is more of an unpopular opinion, but I just want them to shoot.
Desperate for the Suns to have a big that shoots threes next year. I talked about it before the season started. I was hoping they would do it this year. I'm desperate for that.
Maybe they can draft one. If
maybe that's
Jalen
Smith.
maybe that's a project for Damon.
Shooting like 50% from 3 this year. They did draft one, but man, Toumani Camara. If we're talking about drafts, that dude can't shoot. It's crazy.
True.
He's so bad.
True.
At shooting. Okay. Grayson Allen, not just shooting the pull-ups, but shooting from 4 feet behind the line. So good to see. First of all, they're going in, so you can't get mad at them. You know, they're going in. But also just the panic it creates. It's the Eric Gordon factor. You can go down a little bit in 3-point percentage if you're just willing to shoot a lot of them and you're willing to shoot them from further and further away. It just looks great when he's willing to do it. He's been so good lately. I mean, we don't even talk about him that much because he's just one of the more consistent Suns players. But the extent to which he is shooting really well, the Suns are still finding ways to get him wide open shots. But most of the game, defenses are desperate to cover him. It's just been really impressive to see what he's doing. But I hope that message from Frank is really met after that Lakers game. There's been a few times we've said that this season, and they come back and shoot 16.
Kills me, man.
I know. I just really hope it's something that's met. And here's another stat that is kind of interesting in that way too. Since January 1st, the date that I've been choosing to look at stats, 1, because we got a lot of Bradley Beal games in there, 2, because it's the first of the year, the Suns are 11th in pace since January 1st.
Cool.
They have slowly, and I want to use that sort of ironically here, been increasing their pace over the course of this year, and now are close to top 10 in pace. And this is something that I didn't know. I was just kind of flipping through stats, looking at different interesting things, and then I clicked on pace since January 1st, and I said, whoa, they're all the way up to 11th. They're actually moving a little bit so far this year, and I think it's really great, and I hope they continue to do it. And I think if you really think about it, it's something that we really complained about to start the season, and it's something that I didn't realize that we had sort of stopped complaining about as much recently because they've made a concerted effort to speed up what they're doing.
I still think about it sometimes when they get mucked down, and in some of the losses it stands out. Look, they're not going to win every game. But yes, overall, I did not know that they were 11th since January 1st. I probably would have guessed they were like 18th still or something. So that's good to see. I'll tell you what, though.
100.75, by the way. That's where they're at.
100.
That's good for 11th.
100.75. Okay. Yeah. Because you know who has an insane pace in that
Wizards?
time? No, I'm talking about a player on the Suns. This is going to be we're just going to go into my next stat. This is a really quick one.
Perfect.
But as long as we're talking about pace, Royce O'Neal.
I saw that. Yeah.
Royce O'Neal, about 150 minutes with the Suns so far. pace when he's on the floor, 106.5. Sounds like a radio
I've noticed,
station.
yeah,
but really good. That's really fast.
And you know what? It's not even something that is a surprise because you can see it. The Suns have the extent to which the Suns are just like, Royce, you can do whatever you want on offense. It's kind of crazy because he immediately got to the Suns, making passes on the move, making passes to cutters, driving and kicking to shooters, screening on the ball, ghost screening for KD over and over again, but also grabbing and going on offense. If he catches the ball, Devin Booker's on one side and Kevin Durant's on the other, he's not passing to them. He's like just running the ball down the court, and then the rotations start going on the ball. And it's just having another smart and trustworthy player on the team obviously makes such a huge difference. But having someone that you can trust to dribble the ball down, even if it's just 5 or 6 dribbles before, handing it to one of the stars, is just such a big deal. And he's just been, there has to be, it's not an accident. There has to be intention by the players, by the coaching staff for them to do this because they're tired. And for a player to be so consistent so far in that intention, even though it's only been 6 games, it has been good for the Suns. And I hope he continues to be allowed to do stuff like that.
He will be. They got him for a reason. I mean, granted, there were a couple of injuries, but against the Lakers, he played 37 minutes.
Actually, I have a stat on that. We're talking about Royce O'Neal.
Sure, go ahead. I mean, they just needed to tire him out that game in order to win.
He's played 6 games, but really 5, right? The first game, they were just trying him out when he first got to the Suns. But really, as soon as Bradley Beal was injured, he was just like in the rotation. So the last 5 games where he's really played, he is 5th in minutes per game on the Suns at 27.5 minutes per game. That's how many minutes he's playing. He just got here. He's playing almost 30 minutes a game. Yes, partially because of injuries by both Bradley Beal and Eric Gordon. Where's he going to land when this team's healthy?
Well,
6th?
Yeah, this
is
where...
Is he their 6th man now?
This is why the Josh Okogie minutes are all going away, obviously, that those are all being absorbed by him. And he'll probably land somewhere around 20. I don't know. Between him and EG, it's hard to say who's really going to be the 6th man.
Yeah.
EG can obviously catch fire, but if we're assuming the Suns are at full strength and the 3 stars are doing what they're supposed to be doing, then EG takes on a little bit less importance versus a guy like Royce who is good at everything. The only thing he can't do is he can't finish at the rim. He if he takes a dribble inside, he's looking to pass to someone else because if that shot is going up, it is a layup for Royce O'Neal has as much of a chance of going in as a 28-footer.
It's great that he just is willing to just let him just absolutely bomb threes over and over and over again. It's great. Yeah. It's great to have a player that wants to do that.
Of course, and he needs to because the layups do not look good. But
at least he can make the right reads.
Yeah.
He's had, I mean, that game against the Lakers was such a great example. He just is capable of making good passes.
I don't know if there's going to be a pure 6-man for this team. Going into the playoffs, I would probably lean towards saying Royce is going to play more. Yeah. But it might just still feel like maybe that's just because of our traditional view of what a 6-man is that I can't shake the idea of Eric Gordon being that player, even if Royce literally plays more minutes. But it's just EG is the microwave.
I'm going to go back to my comparison I made when we first got Royce O'Neal, and that was this is what Jared Dudley would be in this modern NBA if he had played now instead of back when he played.
This is still
evolving.
The Jared Dudley versus Shannon Brown discussion that we're having, but 10 years later. No, I'm an insult to compare EG to Shannon Brown.
What do you got? You got one more?
I got one more. How many more do you have?
And I got one more too. So
all right.
Let's see. What do you got? I'll let you go first.
All right. This one, actually, I'm going to start by zooming us out a little bit and talking about the NBA. Before I zoom back in, we talk about the Suns. So it's actually funny that I get to frame it in this way because earlier we were talking about how old the podcast is. Does it feel like a long time to you since Devin Booker entered the league? Like if you reflect on the last 8 or 9 years, however long it's been, 8 years and change.
Yes and no.
He feels like a veteran for sure at this point, but he doesn't feel
like a young player in the NBA. He still is young, which is crazy. That's just proof of how young he was when he was drafted. But yeah, it doesn't feel like, LeBron and KD and Steph Curry is still in the league, so that's part of it.
It's like how I don't feel like a young podcaster, right? We're basically, the same.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. to sneak that in there. All right.
Look, if that comparison is a comparison of me to LeBron, Steph, and KD, I will take it.
Devin Booker and I literally do share a birthday, so I have always felt like I get to claim ownership of him just a little bit more than the average person in a stupid way. Since Devin Booker entered the league, that's 8 years ago, 2 presidential terms. This is not a since stat, but when Devin Booker entered the league, 2015, 29 teams in that season had a defensive rating below 110. 29 teams.
Yeah, that's crazy.
This season, we're 8 years later, 1 team does. They are the best defensive team in the NBA, the Minnesota Timberwolves. They have a defensive rating of 108.7. They're the only team that consistently holds opponents under 110 points per game, and they are the best defensive team in the NBA. The scale and the rate at which our expectations for defense have changed is so frightening almost. Like, I think when a lot of people think about the three-point revolution and, like, you know, their mind instantly goes to Steph and maybe, you know, those initial Warriors teams. And I mean, they think about the 7 seconds or less Suns, like, if you want to go further back too. But then I think their mind goes to Steph and that mid-decade period of 2013 to 2016 when the Warriors, you know, but pre-KD Warriors, when Steph was dominating everything and we really saw him start to shatter records for the first time. What's been interesting for me, though, is how almost it snuck up on us that the last 3 or 4 years for the NBA, the increases in offensive rating and by virtue of that, the decreases in defensive rating have accelerated like even faster. It's not slowing down. The changes are getting faster. Teams are scoring more points. And they are the pace isn't necessarily increasing. The pace is actually about the same as it was 10 years ago. What's really just changing is so many shooters, so much spacing, so much gravity that the offensive ratings just keep going up and up, and the rate of change is not even slowing. It continues to accelerate. So why do I bring this up in the first place? I bring this up because the Suns, similar to how you were talking about pace, the Suns are 11th in pace since January 1st. The Suns are 10th in defensive rating in the month of February. They were 13th in defensive rating in the month of January. These are significant increases from what they were towards the back half of last year. I think
huge improvements.
In November, they were 23rd. In December, they were 18th. Now they've wiggled their way all the way up to 10th in February, and who knows, maybe we get the whole gang back together and healthy going forward in March. We're going to play some really good teams, so it'll be hard, but maybe they can ascend even higher, firmly into the top 10 of defenses. But to a lot of people, it probably still just doesn't feel that way. And even to myself, as I was looking at some of these stats, you know, sometimes you're looking at the screen, you're watching the Suns play TV, and they've given up 112 points that night, and it doesn't feel like they've done their job in denying and creating deflections and in just playing good defense, in limiting opposing superstars to less than 30 points. But the fact of the matter is, if you're watching the NBA in 2024 and your team is giving up 110 points in a game, that's good defense now. What used to be good defense was 100 points or less. That era is done and dusted. Yep. It's 110 points now. And the fact that it's changed that much in less than a decade since Devin Booker has been in the league and he's barely considered a veteran is kind of frightening to me. And, you know, furthermore, we can talk about if this is a good thing, if it's a bad thing, if we as fans should be protesting for some sort of rule changes to put a stop to this. But it's just a fact that this is good defense now. The Suns are playing good defense. And maybe if your eye isn't quite catching it yet, it's just because of how quickly the expectations have changed on you.
It's crazy. It's genuinely crazy. I mean, I looked up the a few weeks ago on our podcast. I looked up the defense since January 1st, and the Suns were like 9th at that time. It just doesn't feel like it. And you're right. I think perspective-wise, you and I try to watch as much basketball as possible. In fact, we might even be this week on playback, we're thinking Wednesday, just watching other teams because we try to keep up with the NBA as much as possible. And, you know, seeing that defensive stat for the Suns in a time where I felt like they were mediocre at best defensively was such a perspective shifting moment for me. There's all these stats about the increase in offensive efficiency and the extent to which At certain moments of the season, there'd be 5 teams that are like the greatest offenses of all time. Like just seeing the 122 offensive rating stat next to Yusuf Nurkic's name on the advanced stats website for the NBA.com is absurd.
Steve Nash in his heyday, when we were talking about what an offensive god he was, those teams had like a 110 offensive rating, so it's the amount that has changed is crazy. So yeah, seeing a 122 next to Nurkic, seeing a 128 next to Bradley Beal's name or whatever that is, it's nuts.
It really is absurd. Yeah, and that's a good way to really wrap up all of what those stats mean. And I think, it's also a credit to what the Suns did in the offseason, which is, as much as people kind of struggle sometimes to see the full vision of what they're trying to do just because they've played 20 games together or whatever it's been, leaning this hard into offense, but still surrounding the guys who are playing with smart defenders is, I think, an appropriate. It's an appropriate time to make that gamble or take that risk. Whether or not it'll work, traditionally they say defense wins championships. That's just not true.
Not anymore
in the NBA anymore. You can't be god awful defensively, and you have to have a high level to reach defensively in the playoffs, but the offense is what's going to carry you now.
The
Suns really leaned hard into it. So
we're not going to see another 2005 Pistons team anytime soon that just wins a championship off the backs of 90 points per game and a starting center who they plucked off the street to fight dudes. And that era of the NBA that was the era of the NBA that I grew up with, that made me fall in love with the sport. But we're so far away from that.
Yeah.
It's a different world.
The Suns played the Lakers on Sunday. This is my last stat. And the Lakers, I think, didn't shoot any free throws in the fourth quarter of that game. The Lakers shoot a lot of free throws. LeBron James, after the game, complained about it, the fact that they didn't get any free throws in that game. I do think it was a very physical game. And I think there were fouls that could have been called in other games that I personally, and this is on both teams, was happy that they didn't call in this game, because the game was slowed down enough by the fact that there were 4 or 5 reviews throughout the second half. But I enjoyed that they're allowing more physicality. This is what, I don't know why, LeBron has to know this, right? We're getting towards the end of the season. This game was on ABC, probably one of the most watched games of the year so far. The refs are starting to let it look a little bit more like the playoffs to get people ready for what that's going to be.
I didn't even see LeBron complain about this.
He
after the game.
It was not a finable complaint. We'll say it that way. It was it was more of a, we play a game that allows us to get fouls, so to see 0 fouls, that doesn't feel like us.
Oh my God, we play how you could not word that in any more of an obnoxious way. We play a game that
for the
allows
record, I am paraphrasing, so I don't know exactly how we worded it.
Fair enough. Yes.
Here's a stat.
Sure.
Number 1 in free throw differential so far this year. And by the way, I don't know how to look this stat up, so I was happy that people were tweeting it. Number 1, the Lakers at plus 316, meaning this is free throw differential in attempts. They've taken 316 more free throw attempts than the teams they're playing against so far this season.
We're about 50 games in, 60 games in, so that's around 5. They're getting around 5 to 6 more attempts per game than their opponent,
which is obvious when you watch them play.
The Lakers are just starting with a spread of like a -5 in every game because of that.
But number 2 on the season, this is what surprised me: the Phoenix Suns with 196, which obviously is more than 100 less. But the Suns are number 2 in free throw differential. We've talked a lot about the Suns not getting to the free throw line in previous years. They have, I think, in many ways, and even though it doesn't feel like that, fixed it this year. Now, the big guys obviously are doing most of the heavy lifting, especially Kevin Durant, followed by Devin Booker. But there's just guys down the line that shoot more free throws for this team just in general. I think Yusuf Nurkic compared to DeAndre Ayton.
Yes.
That's one of the guys that
Eric
think
Gordon
stands out.
compared to actually Eric Gordon's probably not getting free throws.
He's getting some now. I mean, Campaign would just jump at the rim, fall on the ground, not get a call.
But like even
every
like
single game,
Grayson Allen will get there more often than Landry Shamet did, or like just random role players. There's a little bit on the margin of each guy, I feel like.
Are you surprised at that stat?
I am surprised that it's second, but now I'm tempted to say that it's just us. It's just the way what our game plan allows us to do.
I think you're looking at this with Bradley Beal only averaging 3. That dude can get pretty high in free throw attempts if he's healthy and consistently attacking. And I don't know if we're going to see it this season, but and then the other guy, the king of the stat, obviously, Saban Lee, who every time he's on the floor gets fouled at least once per minute, it seems like.
Let me sort
Josh
us by free throw rate real quick. Oh, Josh Okogie's always been good at this. Even when I was yelling at the entire team to get to the free throw line last couple years, or last year at least, that was never Josh Okogie's fault. I knew that he could get to the line. But Nurkic,
who's not going to help? Royce O'Neal. We just talked about it.
Royce O'Neal's not going to help.
That dude's never going to shoot a free throw. Yeah.
Royce O'Neal's not going to help. But man, honestly, I think the biggest difference maker, making the KD trade was huge, but I really think the biggest difference maker was just you got rid of DeAndre Ayton, who substituting any center in for DeAndre. It didn't even have to be Nurkic, and Nurkic is good at getting to the free throw line because he likes to work in the post and he gets physical, but it could have been anyone, man. Ayton averages like 1 free throw a game in 30-something minutes for the Blazers. Yeah. It's incredible. Yeah. It's incredible, man. The dog per 36 is at an all-time low.
And on that, you got anything else? I think we've covered. We're over an hour. We've covered all.
DeAndre Ayton's dog per 36 is my final stat for the day, and it is bad, folks.
All time low.
It's bad.
Yeah, all time low. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening to this one. We will be on playback Thursday for Houston. Wednesday, I think League Pass. We'll be watching games. So if you just want to flip around and watch, since there's no Suns games, we have three-day break for the Suns, by the way, which gave us time to do this podcast, which was nice. But a long break for the Suns, so we're just going to jump on and watch other games on Wednesday. So join us for those on playback. If you haven't already, feel free to join our Patreon, patreon.com/thetimeline. You can see all the information there. Appreciate you all. We'll be back very soon.
If you're a custodial supervisor at a local high school, you know that cleanliness is key, and that the best place to get cleaning supplies is from Grainger. Grainger helps you stay fully stocked on the products you trust, from paper towels and disinfectants to floor scrubbers. Plus, you can rely on Grainger for easy reordering, so you never run out of what you need. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.